Is the Rebel Scum podcast. Available in video on YouTube and audio wherever you listen to your podcasts. Every week, Brock and James talk the latest rumors,
and rumors from a galaxy far, far away. Now here's Brock.
There I am, full screen. What's up? Rebel Scum Podcast, episode 310. We're back. I'm Brock.
I'm James.
And yeah, we're here to talk Star Wars in this Star Wars drought we're living in. I'm back in the white void. Here we are.
Yeah, you're back there. That's a great back. You know what? I'm glad that we both moved because now we have great Star Wars backdrops. When we were at your old house downstairs in the basement, that backdrop sucked.
The worst. The very, very worst.
Do you still have that? Do you still have the stuff that made up that backdrop? People don't care what we're talking about, but I do. Your wife made you ditch it all. She's like, get rid of it. All of it. Gone. Hundreds of dollars in Star Wars merchandise out the window. This is the Rebel Scum broadcast. Brock. Episode 310. We've been doing this for 3,000 years.
Yeah.
Which we've been doing it as long as the genie's been trapped in the lamp. I think 10,000 years. So welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. If you're not a fan of Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi, you've come to the wrong place. If you are a fan, you've also come to the wrong place. Because we're not talking about it today, are we, Brock?
No, unfortunately, that's next week's topic. You're a week early.
You're a week early for The Last Jedi retrospective. It's going to be a lot of fun. Anyway, that movie was something else in terms of not even the movie's become something. I don't even think people remember the movie anymore. I feel like it's a movie that everyone's kind of been like, they forget the movie and they either really hate it or really love it because of reasons. And yeah, it's just I don't think people have watched The Last Jedi in at least a week.
Probably. I mean, there's so many other things to watch, right? So
yeah, there's the Rise of Skywalker. There's Attack of the Clones. There's Hey Ron, Heidi, Kicking Aaron, Scarif. Thanks for joining us in the live chat. Look, I brought up The Last Jedi because it kind of is because I don't know if you saw this, but Daisy Ridley, she's on like a press tour for everything apparently, and of course Star Wars is always. But if you're in Star Wars, it's always going to get brought up. And she's handling everything the way you would expect a professional to handle things. Hi, Pauline. She's saying all the right things, but there was a recent interview where she let something slip, Brock, and this is what I wanted to talk about because nothing else is happening in Star Wars. But I wanted to talk to you about this because we have a Star Wars podcast, and everybody else has a Star Wars podcast on Earth. Even everybody in the chat, they're like, we have our own Star Wars podcast. We know. And what I wanted to bring up was she mentioned that when she was offered the role of Rey, J.J. Abrams said, people treat this like a religion. It's going to be, people are basically fans are insane, is what he was saying. And she was okay with it. And she got like holes in her stomach for being so nervous about it and the anxiety and all of that stuff. But I wanted to talk to you about Star Wars fandom in general, because I think because some people that I've seen online are like, yeah, that's how it is. We're passionate. Yeah. But from my perspective, Brock, is I feel like there needs to be like a line in the sand of sanity, and then you're not sane anymore when it comes to like you can like going to celebrations, a lot of fun seeing the people there. I'm not knocking like cosplaying. That has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the other side of the fandom, which I think Kicking Ears in here, but I think WWE can relate to. Like, there's a side to the fandom that isn't just dark; it's obsessive, and it's not obsessive. It's beyond obsessive, and I think I want to talk to you about that because we have an obsessive podcast where we talk about Star Wars every week, and we've been doing it for almost 8 years, so it's or 7 years, whatever it's been. So, what are your views on that, on Star Wars fandom obsessively?
Well, I mean, I don't want to say this because it'll stop the conversation. I think your first step is you need to get off Twitter.
No, this isn't Twitter. This is like what she said. This is what she said.
Oh yeah, that like I was skimming for news and stuff like that, and I'm like, there's just a whole section on Daisy Ridley and different like things, and I'm like, who cares? I was just like, it's just like, I'm like, I feel bad for her that she has holes in her stomach, like, but it's just like, this is ridiculous. It's like looking for reasons.
News and theories from a galaxy far, far away.
Okay, sure. I don't know why.
You heard that, right? You heard, yeah, okay.
Oh, I heard it. It started playing. I don't know why.
But anyways, but like, it's just like, and I feel for her. I'm not saying, but it's just like, why is this news? Like, it's just like, yeah, movie making is hard and fan culture is brutal, but it's just like we can't like give this a spotlight anymore. It's ridiculous. It's like Daisy Ridley, yes. It sucks that she has that, but like we can move through it. We can survive, like, I'm getting old. My knees don't hurt. I don't make an email or an article about it. It's like, I don't know. It's just like, you're never going to win anyways. So like giving these people a platform is just like, why bother? You know what I mean? So it's like,
the thing is though, there is one, and it's kind of like for me. Sorry, I'm writing the tag for this. We're so okay. I feel like because of social media, because of YouTube, because of Twitter, because of Facebook, because of Instagram, there's like an outlet now for everybody. And I started with The Last Jedi because The Last Jedi is really when everything started to go haywire in Star Wars fandom. Mostly because a couple people didn't like it, and then other people didn't like it. And then when people don't like it, they gather together. And it's like you didn't like one aspect of it, but then you double down on that one, and then you triple down and quadruple down, and then it becomes this obsessive snowball. And the problem is, and it's a Twitter culture, like you said, is negativity sells. Nobody wants any positive storylines. They want the negative storylines. And so you focus on negative, and then you keep doubling down, and you start to believe like something that doesn't exist. Okay, you don't like it, but it's not to the level that you've created it to be anymore. There's another side to this as well, but this is what I'm talking about. So like it feels like I think William Shatner was right when he called everyone what did he call everyone in the thing, like idiots or nerds. Like, you need to calm down on the fandom is what I'm saying. Just we all have podcasts, we all love it, but like these are just normal people. You said this last week, working their 9-to-5 jobs basically is to sit in front, say some lines, or to write the lines. It's just like, calm down. These are made by human beings who are making a wage, and they're hoping to entertain you. They probably won't, and they have to report to other people like we do. We all have bosses that we hate or love. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that's what's going on. So chill out is what I'm saying.
Okay. I mean, you're not wrong. I just like we're just gonna. There's never gonna be a solution. There's never gonna be a solution because it's just worse. like think of all the people that that maybe in life that are like get obsessive over a thing, and you're just like, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. So it's just a matter of like, I don't know. You can start like condemning them as well or whatever, and it's just like, like. I want to say names, but I'm just like, that's just mean. But it's like, you're entitled to your own thoughts, but it's just like, overall, our society in general is like, it's like, if you have a thought that doesn't go with the status quo or offends one group, look out, because it's just like, we react. It's not a matter of like, okay, there's a problem, let's have a discussion. No, that won't happen because we live in a world where you can't really have a real conversation about politics, religion, sex. What's the new one? Like the internet, I guess. There was another one I was thinking about recently. It's like you can't have these conversations. So it's just like it seems so trivial when it's like we're talking about Star Wars. Like, do I love Star Wars? Absolutely. I absolutely love it. To the point that I'm like, let's talk about it on a weekly basis. But it's just like it's like the stuff that's happening in Gaza, that's a serious topic. Equality between genders, equality between sexuality, that's a real thing. Races, just all the different things. It's like a couple of people that are like, I didn't care for this movie. It's just like, cool. And it's just like, it sucks that the people that work on it get affected like this. It's just like, oh, why won't Adam Driver, John Boyega come back to Star Wars? Because it's like it's a nightmare to not work on the project per se. I don't think it's all the stuff around it, and like you don't have like, you know what I mean? That's just like if you remotely try to fire back at these people, you won't win. So what's the point? Like it's just like, go away, go away, little bird. Like it comes to a point where you're like, you want to carry around one of those squeeze water bottles like a cat and go. So like, just calm down. Just calm down. It's when you go to a convention, the easiest way to piss somebody off is say like, oh, this live action anime that they create on Netflix is so good, and all the anime kids just go crazy. It's like,
is that
it's
real?
like. Oh, that's very real. Outside of the newest one that came out, which was like the One Piece live action, no like live action, especially on Netflix, is liked by the fans. So it's like you're never gonna win. So who cares?
People care. I just thought something for us to talk about because we have the podcast, and I just think like it's negative clicks aside, there's this weird feeling of like you need to tell everybody how crap something is when somebody likes something. Like, and I've done it in the past. It feels good. But like if somebody likes something and you don't like it, it doesn't matter. It shouldn't offend you. Like somebody's view on something shouldn't offend you when it comes to movies. Like if you like Dune, Brock, and I couldn't get through 18 minutes of it, I'm not offended that you like it, and you shouldn't be offended. Like, it's all subjective crap. Like, it's like, who cares at the end of the day if The Last Jedi, if you didn't like The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker or Rogue One or the prequels, because people hated those damn prequels. If you didn't like those, great. Like, but don't crap on the people who liked it. And also, I think what needs to be said is if you did love all of those, but somebody says, I didn't really care for X, let it go also. You don't have to go off on why it's better than the other ones, because this is something that Twitter does, Brock, that is the worst. This is actually, and it's not even that bad, but it's the worst thing it does, is it goes, it's a trend. I think it's everywhere. It's like one has to go, and it's like The Matrix, Star Wars, Marvel, or Star Trek. And you're like, why does one have to go? Oh, because you want us to all argue in the comments why I picked this one. And that's all it is, just creating these arguments. None of them have to go. They're all here. We've got them all. You can enjoy everything. And so it's just this weird thing where people like to get a rise out of each other based on stuff that they liked and then put you down for liking something. And that's the world we're living in. And it's really unfortunate. And I don't like your red shirt, Brock. I hate it.
Oh well. Yeah, like it's just like it's especially if it's all coming from the internet. It's like, well, people can say whatever they want on the internet, and there's no ramifications because you can just say it into the ether and then never look back, right? Because it's like you and I are having a conversation. I'm not really agreeing with what the argument you're posing with, but we're having a good discussion. This doesn't happen on the internet. Like it's just there is no my example of at like a convention where I mess with anime kids. And they like, I watched it, and they're like, well, actually, I'm like, bro, the show's not for you. So it's just like, they're like, you're right. And I'm just like, it's not for you. But that was like 5-6 years ago. Like, not to go on a tangent, like the anime world is like, it's grown in fandom. Like it's kind of like you're seeing way more in like the mainstream than there used to be, right? So whatever, it's just like, and I get it. It's just like, we like Star Wars. People are like, not, they know that about us. It's like, oh, what do you think about Star Wars? I'm like, I mean, it's great. It's like, I'm the worst example because it's like, oh, what'd you think of this? I'm like, I loved it. I'm like, I'm in. Like, I can't think of. Maybe like Obi-Wan's probably my least favorite of Star Wars creations.
I gotta
so
give that
far.
a rewatch.
Maybe
I want to give it a rewatch.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's just like, I'm like, there's good. I just like, I'm trying to think if I've ever been disappointed by Star Wars in the theater or on TV. I don't think so. Because like it is a religion. There is a preciousness to this. It's like, you can say the thing about like Marvel has a massive universe like that, but then like there was never that wasn't run by a creator. It was run by a business where you're like, we need to sell books. We need to sell as many books as possible. So we'll change the story as much as we want. We'll change the characters as much as we want. Like, it's so like there's ups and downs. So like people are used to that. Like with Star Wars, it's like, ooh, careful.
Star Wars, like, we always, I'm going to say we, because I don't know about you, but a lot of people try, and me included here, is like, we always go to Marvel when we talk about Star Wars, right? Marvel does it. But they're so different on so many different levels.
Oh,
and for starters, I know everybody hates Kathleen Kennedy anyway, like everybody. And I'm going to say everybody hates Kathleen Kennedy for the algorithm. Everybody hates that. But here's the thing. When she said, when she was asked about Marvel, I think it was before COVID, so like 200 years ago, she said, we don't have the books or comics to lean on. And everybody went off on her and be like, you do, you have the legends. But the thing is, and that's such like that tunnel vision moronic view of everything, right? That people seem to have when it comes to Star Wars. It's like, but it doesn't. Star Wars was based off George Lucas being like, I've got an idea. I want to make, and he just did this thing, and they made another one, and another one, and then another. But it took 400 years for him to make 6 of them, and then they're making another one. And the books were, he was like, yeah, but even he was like, they're not really anything. They're just, here's some side. We said there's the side stories. Here's some. They're not Marvel comics where this is a legit storyline in Marvel. Like, Marvel movies were based off of Marvel comic books. Star Wars movies weren't based off of anything. I mean, sure, you can, whatever, but they weren't actually based on anything. They were an original idea that George Lucas had, and he conjured up, and that's what it is. So you can't go back and do it. So you've got to create something fresh and new for everybody. And and I mentioned this last week, is the Luke Skywalker thing. I think there's the overvalue of Luke Skywalker by, I think at the time, Lucasfilm, and I think the fandom as well. Luke Skywalker was just a farm boy. He was just a farm boy. And I think we need to just remember that this is just a story, a fictional story about a kid who ends up becoming a Jedi Master. And it's a lot of fun. But you just gotta calm down. There's nothing to go on. Fans love to pick you ruined the legends. There's that argument like Chewie died in one of the novels. So exactly, you can't just start episode 7 with Chewie's dead, read the book. Yeah. That's not gonna happen. Like Star Wars, I mean, I guess now they're kind of read books, you'll like this stuff, but I still don't think the books are as you don't need to read a book to watch. I hope you don't have to read a book to watch The Acolyte.
I don't think so. I mean, from what we know, it's so far off. I saw that. It's so far off the map. I don't think it's going to be an issue. And also, with the High Republic stuff jumping back and forth in eras, and it kind of worked. And I've said this multiple times. The stories are doing that. It's this is great. Put this into movies. But I don't doubt it because that's. like it's just like you don't. It's not like one or the other, or it's not one depends on the other, right? It's like Lord of the Rings was a book first, but you don't need to watch Lord of the Rings to understand the movies. The movies will explain themselves, right? So it's like I can go into a Marvel movie and appreciate it. I'm like, oh, this is this, that character is this, that's that, that. But like, it's like you don't have to worry about that if you haven't read any of those things, like because they're telling a story. So it's like, I agree. You know, it would be great. Like that's just it's easy to pick characters like out of the expanded universe book series. Like yeah, like we pulled Thrawn out of there. There's other little characters, and it's just like that's cool. Do we need it? I mean, it's cool how High Republic is like spinning itself, but like I'll be honest with you, I'm trying to find free copies of the stuff I read for that because it's just like to buy all of it is impossible, and it's not all good. So it's like you want me to spend money on like I want to read all the High Republic stuff. I want to know it, but I'm not going to spend all the money on like putting a Star Wars book on my in my book collection isn't a goal for me. I want to read it, and it's like top-notch stuff on like every like maybe 3 out of 5 stories. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. But again, it's like it's not something I want to collect, but I'm very interested into. It's like so that's why I'm excited about the Acolyte, like just like see it on there. But again, it's just like the Acolyte shouldn't like that'd be so. It would be insane to be like. I think it would work in Star Wars because Star Wars is like George Lucas's method was just to throw you in the story. So being thrown into the story of the Acolyte might work. But yet, could you imagine? It's like you have to read 5 books to understand the first episode of the Acolyte. I'm like, I would be wow.
The Acolyte's one that's got us. You got to think it's starting with some kind of text on the screen, like 200, like 100 years before, the Jedi as you know it, or something's got to come on the screen to like give you some context in the timeline, or maybe they don't. Maybe they just throw you in, and we haven't never told me the odds coming up about Yoda. Maybe that's how they do it. Maybe they use a little green guy to get you in there to tell you where you are and everything. Den brought up a thing about Asajj Ventress because Asajj is back in the Bad Batch season 3, dies in the book Dark Disciple, which was based on Clone Wars screenplays, I believe. Right, unfinished screen. So I think there are articles out there from the writers or directors, somebody who worked on Bad Batch, saying that book is still canon. They lead into that, but I don't know. Maybe not, because if you remember the first episode of Bad Batch, they retcon Kanan's Order 66. That's from a comic that 4 people read. And I think that's one of the problems is with canon is like when you have, like you said, all these High Republic novels going on, which I know they're all written in unison, like they have the whiteboard we've all seen. So that whatever, but then you have these comics and you have this and that and all these other things coming around. At some point, you're going to you gotta like Heidi said, George Lucas retconned himself all the time. I think sometimes you gotta take creative liberties with things and just kind of let it go and be like, oh, but that happened in page 76 of this comic that you can now buy at the dollar store. Like, and no offense to anyone that worked in the Kanan comic is a great comic and it looks fantastic too. So not knocking the comic itself, but it didn't do too well. At the end of the day, does it really do you really get hung up on the little details? In a movie, if you're watching a movie and then the next movie they do something weird, that I think is a little bit different than, oh, I read this comic and now in the cartoon it's different. I think you got to maybe separate the mediums a little bit sometimes.
Yeah. Like it's just like, just who cares? Like just watch it. You like it, you don't? It's like I would argue this like you should watch everything unless you've gotten to the point where you're like, I don't care about Star Wars anymore. Then yeah, stop watching, because it's like if you ingest as much of the Star Wars media as you can, then like like then you can have like a real say on it, because it's like oh, this looks dumb. It's like, well, then I don't know, because it's like you might not like this, but you might like that. I mean, I was just thinking about it. It's like Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. I think we're like excited about it because we don't know anything about it, and it also seems to like depart from the current status quo of what's going on with Star Wars. Like, as much as like Mandalorian kind of was like on its own to an extent, all those projects sort of, I feel, even though they aren't fully, they all kind of fall under the Filoni Favreau net. And I kind of throw in, who did Andor? Is that Gilroy?
Yeah.
So like, since Gilroy made Rogue One, it's like they feel like it's like we're part of the club and we know the rules, whatever. So it's like now it's interesting to see like what is Leslie Headland doing with Acolyte. It's like I don't like, we don't know the rules of that movie yet. So it's like, can you do whatever? So like that's exciting. Like I'm looking forward to see what happens with that, but. Whatever. I'm like just a bad person to talk to, because I'm like, oh, I'll watch it. You know, I'll check it out. Rarely do I get to a point where I'm like, buh. I think I like everything.
But the Acolyte has, in my opinion, the coolest synopsis of all the stuff. Like, it's like a master and Padawan have to hunt down an evil threat. All right, I'm in. Let's go. Let's do it. Like, there's going to be Jedi. There's going to be, I don't know if there's Sith or whatever they are. There's something's going to happen. Yeah. It sounds cool. Whether or not it is, I don't know. But it sounds cool. Like, I think you could, obviously I don't think anyone could argue that doesn't sound like a cool concept for a Star Wars. I would watch it as a movie, and I would watch it as a show. So give it to me. I'm ready for it. Skeleton Crew, we know very little. It's like Jude Law as a Jedi. I'm like, well, I'm kind of in. Why not? Yeah. And he's got a bunch of kids, and it's like Stranger Things in space. I don't know what that means still.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still not 100% sure what that means, but I'm in. Why not? Like, it none of them have sounded terrible yet, but I know what you mean. Like, they're intriguing because they're out of the norm. They're not part of the clique, the Star Wars clique that they have. They're like the outsiders to come in to do it and shape it and see what it is. And I'm curious what they're going to. I'm curious. Well, Skeleton Crew, I think it's still Favreau and Filoni like producing it. Like, I don't think they have a ton to do with it, but I think they're still like overlooking it. I believe. I could be wrong. Whereas Acolyte, I think, is just completely separate. So who knows? Like, I want to know what the look of them is going to be. How's it going to feel? Yeah, because Skeleton Crew has the villain, the pirate from Mando season 2.
Oh yeah,
one that looks like So that's so that'll probably have more of the Mandoverse look. But Acolyte, we've seen some footage, like behind the scenes stuff. I think they played a trailer at Celebration or some con or something like that. So people have seen something. I'm curious what that's going to look like. Is it going to look like Andor? Is it going to look like Mandoverse? Is it going to look like one of the movies? I'm really, really curious what we're going to get from that. But I think it's such a cool idea for a Star Wars show. It's like, yeah, give it to me.
Ambiguous good versus ambiguous evil. Go.
But that's what Star Wars is, right? It's good versus evil. I think that's one thing that people oftentimes overlook with Star Wars is how simplistic it really truly is. If you look at the original trilogy, there's not a whole lot going on in terms of, it's like, here's the good guys, here's the bad guys. One's chasing the other. We don't, like, they flip-flop who's chasing who. And then Ewoks show up, and you're like, this is good. And that's like, really, like, the good guy wears white, the bad guys wear black, and it's good versus evil. No gray area. Just George Lucas made it very simple for everyone, and that's where we're going. Do you want to do some blind rankings?
Let's do it.
All right, blind rankings. This week we're going to change up the blind rankings a little bit, Brock. We're going to do the top 5 highest grossing Star Wars movies, and I'm going to let you pick them this time. And there's 5 highest grossing movies. You're going to pick them, and you're going to tell. And I'll if you. So we'll start with 5, and we'll move our way up to 1. So what do you think the 5th highest grossing is? There's 11 theatrical movies. I'm not counting Clone Wars, not counting the Ewok movies, just counting the 11.
Yeah. And then is inflation put into into like
No, I wouldn't
consideration
worry
with it?
too much. I wouldn't worry about inflation. I don't deal with inflation. There's too many numbers there.
I have no clue. There's a lot to take into consideration. Yeah, I know. And there's a lot to take into consideration. Because it's like what Star Wars did in pop culture, and then also what the Disney era, and just like how much people go to movies. Like,
If it makes you feel better, you can just kind of pick them and tell me what number you think they're at instead of going in an order. You can be like, number 1 is X, 5 is X. Like, you can go any order you want. Just tell me where you want to put them.
I'm gonna go. Return of the Jedi number 5.
Okay. No, you're wrong.
Okay. Fun. Return of the Jedi 5. Last Jedi. No. Rise of the Jedi. Or Rise of Skywalker 4. Empire 3. Force Awakens 2 and New Hope 1. Just, I don't know, shot in the dark. My thoughts are like, the new movies, like, I feel like did really well because they're in the era of like, they made $1 billion. And sorry, is this like gross or just opening box off week? Like opening
gross.
Weekend? Gross?
Gross.
But like, it's hard to call because like the original Star Wars was probably on par with like, because it was in theaters forever, right? And then I want to say that I should have put in a prequel. I think I was going to say Phantom Menace, just because it's like the first one after a long time without Star Wars. But I don't know, like Jedi, Return of the Jedi, maybe I'm totally, well, you already told me I'm off. I want to say Empire. Those got panned though.
Also, I should let you know it's also domestic, not worldwide.
Yeah, I was thinking more domestic anyway. So, anyways,
and my results are from Box Office Mojo. So if anybody wants to argue them, take it up with the Box Office Mojo.
All right, what's the actual?
All right, the actual rankings are number 1, Force Awakens, 2, The Last Jedi, 3, Rogue One, 4, Rise of Skywalker, and 5, The Phantom Menace is number 5. That's that. What's interesting though, I think of all of these though, is where is it? Opening weekends. The number 1 is, Force Awakens was number 1 by not a mile, but quite by 200,000. I think over. I lost the number. I can't get it back. Over Last Jedi. Both of those were massive. Rogue One opening weekend was 155. Rise of Skywalker was 177 opening. So that means it went down. Rise of Skywalker is the one that went down. So I think people spoke on that one. Whereas Last Jedi, the one that split the fandom, it crushed. It went up to 620 worldwide. But Force Awakens, 936 million, almost 937 million world, almost $1 billion domestically. Book of Boba Fett is number 1. But you want to go beyond. Number 6 is Revenge of the Sith. 7 is New Hope. 8, Attack of the Clones. 9, Return of the Jedi. 10, Solo. 11, Empire. 12. But don't forget, it costs $0.25 to get in the theater. Brock is so mad about Empire being so low on the list. But the original Star Wars made 138 is 12th. Oh, yeah. And then Empire Strikes Back is the special edition. Oh, that's the special edition of A New Hope. Yeah, there's too many. It's all the re-releases are in here. I can't take it. I can't take it. And Taika Waititi's is second last on the list, and Star Wars New Jedi Order is last on the list. I don't know why those are there, but they're on the list. There's Untitled Taika Waititi Star Wars May 22nd, 2026. All right. And Star Wars New Jedi Order December 17th, 2027. I hope I'm breaking this news to everybody. We got Star Wars coming out in May 2026. Brock, what do you think of that?
When there's a trailer, I'll believe it.
Right, while we're doing this, we should do What Up with Star Wars and see if any Star Wars news drop. Taika Waititi's movie. Here's the trailer. What?
That would be crazy.
Wouldn't it be?
We dropped it on a Thursday when nothing was happening.
Whatever anyone thinks of the Book of Boba Fett, you can't argue that the announcement for that was the best we've ever gotten for a Star Wars anything. Just like, boom. What? A new show that wasn't announced is coming. Like, that was such a great tease to get us hyped for a show that people loved. People loved it.
Yeah.
So much. I can't keep up in the chat. I'm sorry, guys. I wish I could.
Ron had it almost on point for the right numbers.
TFA, TLJ. Yeah, he just had to get. He had to get.
Oh, he didn't have Rogue One on there.
No, he had to get rid of Revenge of the Sith and put that. Yeah, he was very close though. Good job,
Very
Ron.
close.
Clearly a Star Wars fan. Get ready for Grogu to take the records and burn them with a thin alphabet. That'd be so awesome if that movie makes like $4 billion and people are like, because guess who's directing it? It's not Jon Favreau anymore. It's James Cameron. James Cameron's Mando and Grogu, and it all takes place underwater.
Yeah, underwater.
All of it is underwater, and he talks to Greta Gerwig while he's doing it.
Oh, if James Cameron did a Star Wars movie, it'd be just 10 minutes of Purgles swimming by in space. It should be like, yeah, we get it. You like the ocean.
I haven't seen the second Avatar. I saw the first one when in the theater with Rob, and he'll tell you Grogu turns blue. All right, never tell me the odds.
Never tell me the odds.
Called Never Tell Me the Odds. Let's see if this is going to play. It'll probably play at the end of the show.
The possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds.
The screen. I don't know why that's there. I got to really clip that.
You're never going to do that.
Not once. Rob Zombie's Star Wars movie. What's going on?
A house of 1,000 clones. Never Tell Me the Odds, brought to you, me, and everyone that loves our show by patreon.com/Rebel Scum Podcast. If you like what we do, why don't you head on over to patreon.com and put a slash and put a Rebel Scum Podcast and help us out, because we love talking about Star Wars and we will do it till they tell us to stop, but we will never stop. So come and support us any way you can. We greatly appreciate it, like the way we appreciate these wonderful people: Heidi Feder, executive producer; Barry Brophy; Dennis Allen; Randy Kenobi; Mary Kristen Aton; Dale Erdman; Jeff Wilson; Phil Stanford; Rez; Scott D;
Josh Price; Matt W; Frank Perkins; Neil Lowry; Cosmic Girl 02; Gleek Play 1; Den and Nerds; Disney Desi; Charlotte; and Ron Prasak, who's in the chat right now with Heidi and Den. Thanks everybody for all of your support.
Thank you
immensely. It's good to have you here, and I'm glad you're all chiming in with your thoughts, because our odds today are brilliant. There might be one about Ben Solo. We don't know. I do know. We wrote it. All right. Never Tell Me the Odds, brought to you by Patreon. Number one. Never Tell Me the Odds. The Acolyte trailer in February. We're going to see some Acolyte in February.
That would be a get at the Super Bowl. I feel like we would know if it was coming already, because they don't keep secrets on anything.
They can't compete with Deadpool 3 at the Super Bowl.
45%. Why not? Why can't it be as many trailers as possible? Like,
no, there can be. I don't think it would be financially sound for Disney to do an Acolyte trailer during the Super Bowl for a Disney Plus show for Star Wars about the Acolyte. If it was another Mando, if it was a Mando movie, I think you could do it, but I don't think you do it for the Acolyte show, because it costs a lot of money to do it. 30% when Disney Plus gets boring again. I'm gonna go 11%. I just don't think they're gonna do it on the Super Bowl, and I don't think we're gonna get it in February. I think it will be closer to May 4th because if you look, Bad Batch ends I think a few days before May 4th, which would lead up into what are they gonna do May 4th? I think an Accolade trailer coming May 4th is the way to go. How are you thinking? Maybe March Madness.
Yeah.
And Pauline doesn't like too many trailers. I agree with you. I saw the trailer for Richard Linklater's new movie. Have you seen that, Hitman?
Yeah.
Rob saw it at TIFF.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, and after he saw it, he goes, "That's you got to watch that. That's the movie you want to watch." I'm like, "Oh, I'm excited." So I watched the trailer, and I was like, "Dude, the trailer's awesome." He goes, "It showed too much." I'm like, "What?" Like, I didn't think it showed a lot. He goes, "It showed too much." I'm like, "So I'll avoid the next one," because I didn't realize when I watched the trailer it's coming out in June. Have you seen the movie? Did you go to TIFF?
No.
Oh, okay. No, apparently there's things in it that like it doesn't ruin it, but it takes away from the fun of it or whatever. Anyway, it comes out in June. I'm like, it's on Netflix. Just do it now. Just give it to me now. Shove it in my face. Just shove it in my face. I know you have it. Just give it to me now. Anyway, that trailer, I really like that trailer. So I'm going to go 11% on that one, but I'm with you, Pauline. Don't show me too many trailers. And our next odd, Yoda will appear in the Acolyte, even if it's just like a small little cameo on some level. We will still see the little green dude in the Acolyte.
I think like the likelihood is very, very high. Like it totally can happen because he's alive. But I don't feel like I don't know if it's gonna happen or not. I'm gonna say 45%.
Dan saying 90%. He's very present in the High Republic novels. See, here's my thing. I would say I'm going to go full Brock. That's going to be my official answer, full Brock. Because I think what's her name that's making it?
Leslie Headland.
Yeah. I think she wants to stay away probably. Like, let's keep this our own kind of thing. Like, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. I mean that like, like let's keep this separate so people like can get into it. But I also think, like I said earlier, you throw Yoda in it, you know when it is. People feel comfortable. This is Star Wars, and you move on. You get him out of the way right away. Also, it's Yoda. Why wouldn't you ever want to have Yoda if you can have Yoda? Like you want to throw in Yoda there. But I'm gonna go full Brock because I can see them using him as a way of being like, oh look how young Yoda looks. He's back to being CG or or that weird puppet from the Phantom Menace makes a comeback. You know who voices him? The new Fozzie Bear voice. That's who voices Yoda. Right. Yeah, it's just like he's a little off. It's because he's younger. Okay, that's I'm gonna go for Brock though because you can, but do you, and also should you like like at some point you gotta let Yoda go. And our final odd today, Ben Solo will return.
I mean, I feel like there has to be an asterisk on that statement. Yeah, Den is right. Yoda is in High Republic quite a bit, but he's never like a main focus. He's always being mentioned. I feel like he's in the comics a lot more. Correct me wrong if I'm wrong, Den. He's in the books, but he's like okay, here I come, but you stay with another group of people. It's like it's not like on the level of how much he's in Clone Wars, but I agree. I think it's something you can be in your back pocket. But going to Ben Solo, I think there needs to be an asterisk on that statement because it's like we know Adam Driver's not going to do this unless he just nobody calls him. But Star Wars, he's not doing any more Star Wars movies. I am all for let's get animated stuff where recast the voice and it's young Ben Solo. Because if you've listened to this podcast in the last 310 episodes, it's like I would love to know what the characters were doing between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. Like, give me an animated thing. Give me a book, I don't want to go books. Let's go either comic. I want visuals, right? Like, I like reading characters that exist in movies, but it's just like, it doesn't feel the same. But when you see it, like the comics are fun because you can see it. But yeah, I'm going to go for, will we see Ben Solo? 35%. I don't know. I think, unless it's like flashback. Like, what were you thinking when you put this one together? Like, is it young Ben Solo, or is it anything?
I don't know. I think just seeing Ben Solo back. I was thinking more live action than that, but like animated's fine. I'm not Lego though. Lego doesn't count.
Yeah.
Because Lego, they do what they want. Good, like, I love it. They do what you want, but not Lego. I'm gonna go 67%. I think Adam Driver will return at some point. I think it's gonna have to be a unique thing to do. They're gonna have to find a good way to woo him in. As Heidi's saying right now, Harrison Ford was 100% out. I saw that interview with Deanie Petty, Brock, from 1980, and he told her, "I'm not." You look at it, man. City TV, 1980, I think 4 or 6 or something. It was on City TV Rewind back in the day. She said Star Wars, and he said George knows how I feel about that.
Yeah.
He said he would come back for more Indiana Jones, but not for Han Solo. So never say never on Adam Driver. Money also talks. Ferrari. I've heard a lot of weird things about his performance in Ferrari. So maybe he wants to go back, but I do. So maybe we get Benny Boy back. So I'm gonna go 67% because I think it makes too much sense for him to come back that they're not even going to do it. That's my one concern. Is like they're like, it'd be really easy to do the dyad thing. No, we moved on. They're like, we don't want to touch that anymore, and whatever. So I feel like it's easy to do. You should do it. Adam Driver's, he's a star. You can get him to come back, and not a major role, like a small little role. So 67%. Talking to our friend Daryl Lewis, who's working the All-Star game, asked him to get me a ticket.
He's like, new phone, who dis?
Yeah, that's basically what I just got. I was like, get me a ticket, I will bring Selena.
I don't think you understand how my job works.
He just keeps texting me like all this, like, look what merch I got. I'm like, get me a ticket. I'll come down. All right, you have the news?
I do.
It's all Daisy Ridley.
Oh, God.
Wow.
It was staggering. It had its own, on Google News, it was like a whole section about Daisy Ridley. I'm like, I
Googled to get a topic today. A few days ago, I Googled Star Wars, and it was just Daisy Ridley, and then it was 3 pages, and it stopped. I was like, that's weird. All right, Hollow News, da 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 da, Hollow News, da 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 da, Hollow da 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 da. Okay.
Hollow News, the news you need to know right now. Loading my notes. All right. News on Star Wars Outlaws. It seems that Ubisoft may be releasing the upcoming Star Wars game sooner than fans were previously led to believe. At the start of this month, Disney posted a new blog stating that Star Wars Outlaws was set to launch in late 2024. This mention was eventually scrubbed from the blog in question, but it still led most people to believe that this window was a legitimate one, considering the source that it came from. Now, a new report has emerged that has suggested that the arrival of Star Wars Outlaws could only be a few months away. Based on information from Insider Gaming, Ubisoft is said to be targeting a launch for Star Wars Outlaws in the first half of 2024. If true, this means that Outlaws could arrive no later than the end of June 2024. Star Wars Outlaws would seemingly be part of 1-2 punch that Ubisoft has planned for this year, as the publisher's Japan-based Assassin's Creed game, codenamed Red, is also said to be arriving the back half of 2024. And if you've got some money, outlets including Fox Business and the BBC have reported that 2 sets of papers owned by Harrison Ford during the filming of the original Star Wars movie will be for sale at the event hosted by Excalibur Auctions on February 17th. Better yet, the first set up for grabs is a copy of the 4th draft of the film script. This copy of the screenplay doesn't include all of the pages and is unbound. Additionally, the incomplete script has pages of several different colors, which meant to represent rewrites during production. As one might expect from an earlier draft of a screenplay, there are some scenes which weren't included in the version of the movie that audience saw in the summer of 1977. In fact, when this draft was written, the film hadn't even gotten its final title yet. The first page reads, "The Adventure of Luke Starkiller, as taken from the Journal of the Wills." Thankfully, that the title was later changed to the much better Star Wars. The other group of papers for sale includes some interesting miscellanea that Ford owned during the first movie's production in 1976. There's a typed letter to the then up-and-coming actor from his agent, Patricia McQueenie, a pair of shooting schedules for the film, a call sheet, and a handwritten note that seems to be a reminder for Ford to meet up with Robert Watts, who is a production manager on the movie. If you've got lots of money ready to spend and you're interested in obtaining some unique pieces of Star Wars history, you can find details from the upcoming auction at Excalibur Auctions website. I think that should just go into a museum if it's that old. But this has been your Hollow News.
Wow. I would pay for that. Would you?
I mean, if I had unlimited money, I'd be like, let's go. I mean, that's crazy. I would just give like somebody like, if I had like, if money was no object, it was like whoever buys, like, can I just look at it for like 20 minutes? Here's 10 grand. Like, I would be like, that's something I'm like, that's a once in a lifetime thing. Like those pages, like, I'm sure there's a full copy of it somewhere in Lucasfilm. Like that stuff that like you could put that in your museum that's just about Star Wars, and I'd be like, wow.
Let's visit that museum when it's in there eventually.
Yeah.
Happening, bro. Top 5 Sith moments from the movies. You have to write down movies, otherwise it just gets. There's just too many. You have to like just knock it out to me. My number 5, when Dooku slices off Anakin's arm. That music doesn't play, but I don't care.
My number 5 is do you know the story of the tale? I don't forget what's the word he says of Darth Plagueis. Like that's just like, oh yeah, let's get some Sith lore going here. Then they made a book about it. Wow.
They did. They did. Have you read the book?
No.
My number 4 is Sidious versus Mace Windu when he first reveals himself to be the almighty Sith Supreme, and he uses electricity. He's like, oh, and then Anakin chops off Mace's hand. There's a lot of hands going flatter.
Yeah.
That's number 4.
I'm going to go the lightsaber duel between Yoda and Count Dooku at the end of Attack of the Clones, because I was like, wow, Yoda can do that? It's just a great little scene, and it's just, Dooku was an interesting Sith. That it's like one of the characters that they've really started talking about more in like auxiliary Star Wars stories. You know, Tales of the Jedi was all about Dooku, and I was like, that's really interesting.
Does Darth Jar Jar count? We're gonna get some Darth Jar Jar moments on here. My 3 is a tough one. I'm not really sure what I want to say. There's not a lot of Sith moments in a lot of the stuff, but I'm gonna go an odd choice here, and I'm gonna go Dooku when he's got Obi-Wan held captive, and he gives him that Sith speech about joining him, and they can defeat the whatever, and like he basically does the Vader speech from Empire, and it's Dooku in Attack of the Clones, and it's so good you forgot about it.
Yeah. My number 3 is Darth Vader walking through the hallway in Rogue One, because he's a Sith. So there we go.
Oh my god. My number 2 is Duel of the Fates. Whoa, 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 whoa. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. We just lost our monetization. Goodbye, 33 cents. I should be a singer. A songstress. Yeah.
It's a no for me, dog.
Every time I start singing, Aaron gets very upset.
My number 2 is going to be left field one. Correct me if I'm wrong. Obi-Wan is the only time we have Inquisitors in live action. Yes? Anyways, I'm going to make my number 2. It's like finally seeing Inquisitors in real life. I know maybe they're not Sith. I don't know, whatever. Evil.
It's such a fine line.
Like it's just like whatever. It's a fine line because like they're like there could only be two, and then now like oh great. So I'm gonna make that my number 2.
Yeah, and my number 1 is Vader hallway scene. Wah, 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 wah.
My number 1 is gonna be Duel of the Fates because it's like Darth Maul. That was pretty sweet.
Should have been my number 1. I don't know why it's not my number 1. Darth Maul's my favorite. Wah, wah. I was playing with my Darth Maul mask the other day, my Halloween. I was putting it in the closet. Like, I'll see you again soon, my friend. That's starting to
I'll
get
see
really,
you in Halloween.
how old is it? It's like 7 years, almost 8 years
Yeah.
old, probably 7, 6. It's starting to get wear and tear. I went to Dollarama this year to buy another one. They didn't have any. I was like, oh man, the days of the Phantom Menace masks are gone. I just need a backup because he's ripping here, so I'm gonna have to put some black tape on it and the gaffer tape, same color. Those are our top 5. Thank you guys for offering yours. Darth Maul throwing a droid head to hit a switch to open a door instead of force pushing a button to open the door. Those Sith, they can't be trusted. All right. You know what? Let's, for fun, Brock, right before we say goodbye, let's type in Star Wars in the Google search bar. Star Wars. We're on Bing as well. Bing and Google. Star Wars. Here we go. I'm going to type the news tab. Daisy Ridley still upset over backlash to Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. I'll bet you she's not. She just says that was really upsetting. Daisy Ridley says Star Wars sequel controversy is still upsetting. See, it's just worded differently. Star Wars actress Daisy Ridley developed holes in her stomach. All right. Lego 25th anniversary. Ewan McGregor talks. Oh, this just came out 10 hours ago. Ewan McGregor talks making pan Star Wars. It was weird to be the film that was hammered, and we still had to make 2.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
I don't want to hear actors like, well, we almost did this. I'm like very rarely am I like, wow. And especially with Star Wars, it's just like, come on, like it's not like they're just like, it's not like how Sony wants to make all these random spin-off Spider-Man movies all of a sudden. Like, yes, Madam Web looks really, really good, but like it's also you're making a Madam Web movie. Star Wars doesn't do that, so it's just like, oh, we almost made it.
They were going to, and then Solo brought them back down to earth.
Yeah, well, and it's just like all the people's like, oh, I auditioned for Star Wars and I screwed it up. I'm like, great, whatever. Like, oh, someone's better than like. It's just like that's just jobs. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really care for when I hear like I was up for this role. I don't mind when you hear like an actor like 40 years later being like, you know what I screwed up on. But it's when it's like I was one of 77 people.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you have an agent. You know, like those are the ones that are. But like Eddie Murphy when you say you passed on Eddie Valiant for Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
It's like that's pretty funny. But Bob Hoskins nailed it. The right person usually comes up on top. Or you get Zachary Levi for the sequel, Thor. Whatever works.
Yeah, it's always like it's only for like the successful films typically, right? Or the terrible ones where like I almost was in that movie, and you're like, whoa, like it's just
dodged the bullet there.
It's like, well, I was almost in that like $1 billion franchise, like cool.
And you guess what? You probably will be eventually because they're making so many of them.
If anything, I like, the situations where like the Flash shows Nicolas Cage as Superman. I'm like, oh, I like that.
I like that too. It's funny because the press on that is all how like he's like, I went in and I filmed one thing, and then the movie ended up being something different.
Yeah.
They all focus on, but they always focus on that negative part. But then he also says, he goes, you know, it was great though, and I can't remember the costume designer's name. He goes, finally that costume that they created got to be shown.
Yeah.
On a big screen. It's a beautiful costume. I'm like, why aren't we focusing on that part of it? Like that's a nice story. Like people put a lot because that movie that Superman movie. I haven't seen the Death of Superman Returns. What happens? Like the documentary
Yeah.
on it. But I remember like being in high school excited for it because there was a rumor that Michael Keaton was going to show up as Bruce Wayne in it, and they spent like millions and millions of dollars in pre-production on that movie. People worked their butts off on it. And I would love to. That's a nice little like. Well, somebody's work on that movie paid off in a small amount, but it did. And I love that cameo in the Flash. And I'm sorry for ruining it. The two of my favorite cameos were that one and George Clooney.
Yeah, it's just like
when George Clooney. Sorry, go.
No, it's just like, why not? Why not? And like the Nicolas Cage Death of Superman is like a perfect example of like, I'm interested in hearing about that because there's actual footage. And I'm sure like when people test for things, there's footage of everything. There's audition tapes and all that. And we see that from time to time. When we see that, that's interesting. But like, I was almost Neo in the Matrix. Who cares, Will Smith? You're not.
I was saying the George Lucas cameo on at the end of The Flash. When we watched it, Aaron was like Aaron got a huge kick out of George Clooney because it's like I saw like it was ruined for me because I saw it online like before the movie came out in the theater. I saw it online, which sucked. But like if you're not expecting it, that's like it's fun. It was a fun ending too. I don't know, whatever. But who cares? People take it too seriously, and that's what it is. All right, episode 310. We're done. Out of here. Brock, anything else you want to say?
Check us out next week. We're part of Star Wars Podcast Day. Year 7. Take 7, part 7. We're there. Support all the other Star Wars podcasts. I won't. I'm just going to be in this one. But support them, because we all know you love Star Wars and Star Wars things, and we are very blessed to be part of that. So check it out next week, guys. Is it next week? Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Next Wednesday, we'll be here live, probably 9 p.m. Eastern time. Hope to see you there celebrating the good stuff. Patreon, Fantasia has a video on Patreon for you right now. That's going to go live for everybody on Wednesday morning. But it's on the page just for Patreon right now. You can check that out. It's Andrew has a new segment that he's working on. We'll see how far he gets on it, but he's got a new segment where he just reads books. All right, everybody, thank you. What happened? I can't find. End stream is right there. Okay. May the force be with you, everybody. Brock, you were always scum.
Rebel scum.
Scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.